Hey guys, this is the tutorial video for one of our paint nights. This is the Rockin' Sunset. I'm here up in the studio, and as you can see, it's fairly messy. So seeing as now this is my last kit of the summer, I can finally get this thing put back together so that once we are in full swing, the green room will be available for you guys again. So this is the painting that we are doing today. This was the Rockin' Sunset. So basically what it is a horizon sun setting, kind of orangey. You've got water down below, and this is sort of like a little island, and the reflection off of the water gives you the illusion of a guitar. So let's go ahead and hop into it. I'll go through what's in your kit, which is really simple. You'll have a copy of the actual painting, and then I'm going to throw in just a simple silhouette of a guitar so that you can cut it out. Put it over your drawing when it's completely dry, you know, right when you're at your last spot. Little pencil mark so that you can kind of have an outline of a guitar. So let's hop into it and have some fun. Alright, so as always, let's go through what's in your kit. You've got one of these 11 by 14 canvases. There's a spot on the back where you can put your information. One of our paint kits with the acrylics and the two brushes. I'm just going to toss this in just in case you want it. It's just basically a simple clip art graphic of basically the shape of a guitar. And you are going to get a picture of what I am painting today, but I didn't bring it up here with me, so I just grabbed my phone and I found, you know, a couple copies of it. So there are many different versions of this picture running around the internet. A lot of people have been doing this. So let's see if you all can see that. I mean, there are many different versions of this exact same graphic. The one that I'm going to be doing is this one. It's the one with the, you know, the orangey red background. So yeah, you can see here just how many different people have painted this exact same picture. There's a lot of different versions of this picture out there. But yeah, this was the first one that I saw, so this is what I'm going to paint. But I'm just going to bring up the picture so I've got just a simple reference. So I'm just going to put this over here so I can see it. I am going to cut this out, but I'm thinking first I am going to do my background, then cut this out and do just very, very light pencil of just basic shape, just so I have a guide of where I'm putting my trees. And I've got a little cup to rinse my paints off with, and I got some water, and then, you know, go grab yourself some paper towels. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this thing started. There are going to be times when I'm just going to be fast forwarding. Now obviously this picture that I'm doing has got a lot of orange in it. I've got a pretty decent orange in this kit. It should be enough to cover the whole canvas. However, you also have the red and the yellow. If you need to make more orange, you can. I would suggest going full berserker with this orange and get yourself a good base layer, and then you start basically layering up the other shades of the orange to include the clouds and the fact that the sun is setting and up here might be a little darker. And then you're going to have the bottom half is water, so you're going to want to create ripples using a different variation of lighter and orange or darker oranges and yellows to sort of reflect what you're seeing up in this area. Alright, so I am going to go ahead and start painting. Now I know that these brushes are very tiny. I have used these brushes before on this size canvas. It does take a little bit longer. If you do have larger brushes at home, I totally suggest you use them. That is not a problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and do my base background of just this plain orange that came with the kit. You can always water these colors down a little bit and make them a little easier to apply to your canvas. I also do that a lot because these paints are actually rather thick. So I've got my paints open. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to put on my painting shirt because I don't want my nice work shirt getting ruined. And as always, you guys, you don't have to paint what I paint. You are free to paint whatever you want. My philosophy is that, you know, your art should never be dictated by somebody else. Do what you want. Or you can just do exactly what I'm doing. It's up to you. Also, if you have any of these leftover paint kits from previous paint nights, you can always use any orange that you got left over from some of our previous kits. I've had one of these paint kits and I've used it quite a few times actually in these videos. I just keep using the same one over and over again. But unfortunately I did some cleaning in here and I'm not quite sure what I did with the paints that I had already, so I opened up another one so that I can do this picture with you. Now if you've got brush strokes in here, you can see how, like right there, the color variation is, you know, it's very noticeable. Now you can always cover that up when you start layering up. So if you've got areas where you can definitely see lighter and darker patches, you know, it's cool. You can always put a cloud there, but there's always ways of doctoring that up later, or you can put on a second coat. But just remember that, you know, you got to have a lot of orange in this picture if this is the version that you do. And then my phone keeps turning off, so I just gotta swipe that sucker. But yeah, in the picture there's a lot of clouds. Now I was looking at some of these pictures, some different versions of it. They were actually quite cool, very vibrant. This one I actually found to be pretty interesting. So you see that it's all blues. Here's this one. It kind of reminds me a little bit of a Japanese inspired version of it. And then of course you've got something like this, which is absolutely beautiful. So you don't have to do this exact one. But I've got to find my picture again. Here we go. Now I'm noticing that the sun is a very whitish yellow. Now since I've got all this orange going on, that sun is going to take a few coats. So if you have to remix any of your orange with the yellow and the red, make sure you leave yourself enough yellow to be able to do your sunset. And there's also a few yellow clouds here that are sort of horizontal with the sun out in this area that you're going to want a little yellow for, so that you can mix a very, very light shade of orange to kind of mimic the sun and shining off of those clouds. Now I've got a few of these brush hairs that are going off at a weird angle on my brush, and they're kind of driving me nuts. So I'm going to take my scissors and cut them off. Okay, so I got some areas over here where it's a little lighter. Now I could always cover that up with some clouds, but this is way too light for my liking, so I'm going to just put some more over here really quick, and I'm just going to water down my brush so that it can go on pretty smooth. Once the acrylics dry, acrylics tend to be very tacky as they're drying, so sometimes once this is, you know, dried and you try to go back over, you can end up going pretty whack with the color. So I'm just going to put on just a little bit more right here because it was a little thin, but I'm watering it down. And then of course, you know, any imperfections, you can always go back. You can add another coat if you want. I don't have a whole lot of orange left. I think I've used about half of my orange. Now the orange wasn't filled all the way to the top, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think I ended up using about half of my orange for this. One thing that I do like to do when I'm using canvas boards or regular stretched canvas, if I know I'm not going to frame this in a nice wooden frame, I put the colors, the main color, which is going to be the orange, and I tend to lift this up and get the white edges. And what that does is if you hang this on the wall or something without any frame, just the plain board, it just looks a little bit better when it's on your wall. You don't have this uneven white. Now the only issue with that is, you know, you've got to put something under it and let it dry. So I'm just going to just grab some of the orange, get a little water it down a little bit so it's easier to get on here, and then just go back and forth along the edges as best I can without being too heavy-handed with the paint. So I'm going to set this down for a few minutes, try to let the sides dry just a little bit before I continue. Having this on a pair of scissors is probably not the best idea, but we'll make do. Okay, so now it's only touching in one spot, so I'm going to hit pause on this, let this dry up a little bit, and I will be back. Oh, also another thing, if your brush starts to dry out, just go ahead and give it a wash. Anytime that you walk away from your brushes, get the paint off as best you can. I'm just gonna get this off with the water that I have here. Okay, so that's pretty good. All right, I'm gonna let this dry, and then I will be back. And what I'm probably going to do is draw my horizon with a light pencil, and then start getting like the clouds going on, and then I'll start doing some of the water and the ripples. Get my sun on here so that I can get sort of that reflection going on, get some of these lighter colored clouds that are in the background, and then obviously the last thing is getting that the trees in the shape of that guitar on here. Okay. Always cover your paints back up so they don't dry out. If they do start to dry out, you can always put a couple drops of water in here and then just close this, and the paint will start soaking up that moisture again and it'll come back to life. Okay, so this is now fairly dry. My paintbrush is still nice and soft because I washed the paint off. Alright, so because we've got a horizon and I kind of want to make sure that it's straight, I'm just going to plastic there. I'm going to just take a ruler and just with any regular school pencil, just try to make this as straight as possible. I'm just going to make a very light line, and basically what that is that is my horizon. So that's basically where the water is meeting the sky. And so I'm just going to very lightly draw a line. And what I will do later, this is obviously the black is going to cover that up. There's a few little bit of area right here that will end up getting covered up. More than likely, what I will do is either just sort of erase it off lightly and then just go back over it with some more orange, or I will just figure out a way. It is a little bit darker than I was expecting, but it is just a regular pencil, I think. Who knows, this could actually be a dark artist pencil for all I know, because there's no markings on it. Okay. Alright, and what I'm going to end up doing is I've got some darker color red up here. I've got a few wispy clouds up in this area that have some yellow in it, and then of course I've got my big yellow orangey, or sorry, my very bright white with a little bit of yellowish sun right here. And I did not grab something circular to make my sun, which is going to be roughly about yay big. Oh, wait a second, maybe that could work. It is a little bit smaller than I would like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit pause really quick, and I'm going to grab something. Hopefully I have something up here in the studio that is circular that I can do a very, 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 very light circle, because this is a very white yellow, and the pencil needs to get covered up. So let me see what I can find. Alright, so what I found is this thing. This is actually a piece of my desk that's out in the teen room that covers up one of the holes in that desk. So I'm just going to use this as my circle. So I'm going to grab my picture again. My phone keeps turning off on me, and just sort of get an idea of where the sun is. And you can also use your guitar shape as sort of a guide to where that should be. And it looks like it's going to be over just a smidge more. And I kind of wish I could have this circle as my, because it is closer to the right shape. So I might try to just very carefully angle my pencil and just make a circle. And again, do it very, very light, because this is practically white and you don't want your pencil showing through all of it, and it'll take a lot of coats of this paint to cover up a dark pencil mark. So as light as you can, just make a very simple, I'm not even going to put much pressure down, I'm just going to do a quick circle as light as I can. And I'm not even pressing down, I'm just doing that as light as I possibly can. And if your circle's not perfect, that is okay. It doesn't have to be. Alright, so even though I was not putting much pressure on, this is a pretty dark pencil mark. I'm actually very surprised I did not put any pressure down at all. Maybe I can erase some of it so it comes in a little lighter. Oh, the eraser at least is coming off. Some of it's coming off. Well, I might even do that with the horizon. Now my circle didn't get precisely in the center. That's okay. Doesn't have to. I'm just lightly taking a little bit of this pencil off. In fact, yeah, I think I am going to do that over here on the sides where, yeah, that's working. So if your pencil mark is too dark, just see if you can erase a little bit of it off. Don't worry about the centers, because that's going to be covered up with black. But these edges will not have any of the black, so you might want to take some of that pencil off. Alright, that's looking pretty good. Alright. This back on my desk later. If you have any paper plates, saran wrap, tin foil, butcher paper, the waxy side of butcher paper, parchment paper would work. If you want, because you're going to probably want to do some color mixing for some of these darker areas. You don't want to just go full on red up here. So it's going to be a really dark reddish orange. So I'm going to use one of these little condiment cup lids to mix my colors. I'm going to just flip this upside down and just mix a little bit of reddish yellow, or sorry, reddish orange in here. And then I'm going to get these corners just a little bit and try to make something that kind of looks like clouds. Now, I tell this to everybody, I am not a professional artist, I just dabble. So these are never professional grade paintings that I do with you guys. They always tend to be a little bit cartoony, but that is okay. That is just that's just my art style. So just get some of this orange and get a little bit of red and just start working it down from the corners and then coming in this way. And I tend to just grab my paintbrush and grab some color using it and put it in here and mix it up. Maybe throw in a little water. So just gonna grab a little bit of orange here. Wipe some of the orange off on my towel here. Grab the red. And red is a very overpowering color. You do not need a lot. So I'm just going to grab a little bit right out of the lid of this and just mix it in. Since I've got you guys here on the camera, let you know that hopefully in the fall we will be starting back up in-person programming here in the teen room or in the meeting room or the makerspace, depending on what we're doing. It's just as depends on if you know, COVID gets contained and we don't end up with another outbreak in Wasco County. So we've got programming's coming up. We've also got some new clubs, and a manga hopefully will be starting back up soon. I know you guys really like the manga, and I do believe it will still continue to be every second Wednesday of the month with Miss Sam. Alright. And yeah, I think I might throw a little darker red up in here, so I'm just going to grab some more red and just a little bit of orange. Maybe I'll take a look and just see what plain red up here looks like. That's not bad. Just getting some darker colors up in the corners. Don't worry, you'll have a copy of this picture in your kit. I just was too lazy to go grab one. Alright, so some of these clouds, you know, you've got a few darker ones. It kind of just sort of adds a little bit of layer. So I'm going to just grab some more orange and some red. And then just start making a little individual bit of darker clouds up in here. So I'm just gonna very carefully make kind of a cloudy shape coming off of here. And I got some lighter orange here, so I'm just adding a little bit more of that red to just sort of hide that. Okay, so you can kind of see I got a little wispy cloud coming up here. And okay, and looks like there's some darker clouds still over in this area, so yes, I am going to grab a bit of red, put it in my cup, and I am going to very carefully grab a tiny bit of black. And black is obviously more overpowering than red, so you just want a tiny bit. I'm literally just going to take a little black off of the lid. It's not much. And then I'm going to mix it in with this red. So yeah, you can see it is not that much black at all. And I'm going to get my brush wet a little. It'll help mix it. Okay, so you can see if the color here, it got really dark. So I still got some of that orange in here. See if I can get as much of that red in here as I can. This is almost turning into almost a burgundy. And I think I'm going to grab more orange. I'm going to grab a new brush and just grab a little bit more orange into my little cup here. See if I can lighten this up just a little bit. And yeah, black is extremely overpowering. Okay. So let me see what this looks like up in here. So we got some darker clouds right in here. And that is like really dark. So I might come back over this with just some red. Just do some wispies up in here. And there is a way to fix when you put too dark of a color on there. Just take your base coat, which is just the plain orange, and then just kind of go back over it again. So you've got some billowy, darker clouds here. Darker clouds are always the worst. Let's see if I can doctor this back up and lighten it with just plain orange, which was our base coat. And the only reason I'm doing this is that I made that way too dark, because I tend to do that, but that's okay. Personally, when you make mistakes, I think it gives your paintings character. So we had a little dark cloud up in there. I don't know if you can even see that in the video, but I mean, it does look a little bit better. Yeah, not so dark. Okay. And of course, there goes my picture again. And let's grab some just of our plain orange. And I'm going to just kind of run this and just sort of make a line that just sort of stands out. I don't even know if you can see that in the video. Just a line. It kind of gives you the illusion of some billowiness up in your sky without literally putting a cloud up in there. But sadly, my orange in this kit was not filled all the way, and I'm running low. So hopefully we'll be able to get this done with one, or I might have to cheat and make some orange out of the red and yellow. And then we got this. Now this area is going to have some yellowy clouds, but I've got some areas here where my sky was just not very even, and I'm trying to fix that up just a little bit. I've got maybe enough of my original orange left to do this. So when I put in the yellowy clouds over here, remember you're going to have a reflection down here. So because the ripples of the water distort your image, it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it's actually better if it's not perfect. Now if you want, you can use the little brush to make these little yellowy clouds. I'm just going to use the edge of this. And I've only got about half an hour left before I need to go downstairs. But we will, I can always let this sit and finish it tomorrow. And you don't have to do this whole thing in one setting. If you want to go out and do something, I totally recommend it. You don't want to get burnt out on painting. Now, like I said, red is very, very overpowering, so I am going to take a lot of yellow and a very tiny dip of red. I mean, just the tiniest little bit. And normally I would mix these with a paint knife, but I don't have one. What do they call those? Scupulas, little spatula kind of deals. And that is still way too orange, so I'm just going to grab a ton of yellow and put it in here. And you know, and for me, that is still not right. So what I think I might do is just grab the plain yellow and just see how it looks. Maybe I'll use that as a highlight or a way to shadow if I want to distinguish between the different yellow clouds. So I'm just going to get this orange off as best I can. Clean my brush. I'm just going to go straight into the yellow and see what that looks like. I still think it's going to be a little too yellow for this picture, but that might still be a little dark, so I think I'll do a base of just plain yellow, and then I might go back over it with this yellow that I just made and see how I like it. So I'm not going to grab a lot. It's just a little bit on the tip of the brush, and I'm just going to go back and forth. Now when I do horizons and water, I always go left to right. Don't go up and down, it just looks weird. So I'm just going to start just up in here and then just do just some really light orangey clouds or yellow clouds up in here. Alright, and I'm going to start getting a little bit down here in the water. And like I said, it doesn't have to be exactly perfect because the water will distort your reflection unless there's no wind, but there's obviously wind in this picture because there are ripples in the water. And I think I'm going to go ahead and start highlighting with some of this darker yellow that we made. Not a lot, but just a tiny bit to give it a little bit more depth of your picture. Okay, I'm not going to go crazy with this area, but now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of this white and this yellow and see if I can get this done really quick before I need to leave. So I'm just basically mixing up a very, very pale yellow with a lot of white and then just a tad of that yellow. And I'm just going to put down a little bit and see if I like this color. Yeah, that's not bad. I don't mind that at all. some of this, much of this paint off my brush as possible. The part that's in the water is not that crucial because you can always put some rippling waves in there and you can distort the image. But the top part, you need it to look good. So I'm probably going to have to go with more. Yep, definitely. All right, so I'm pretty much out of paint. A lot of it's up inside my brush, and that happens. I can always try to get a little bit more off of here. But what's happening is that as I'm brushing, it's, you know, it's scraping layers off. So I'm going to stop for now. Come back tomorrow to finish and get my rippling waves in here, trying to get as much of this paint on here as I can without making it look too terrible. Might as well get as much of the paint on here as I can without making it look too bad. Okay, so for now, I'm gonna let this dry up a little bit. We will finish the rest of this next time. Well, next time for me, not for you. You can, I'll edit this and they'll all be one video. Alright, so for now, we're just going to let this sit for the night. I have to get going. Okay, so I'm going to hit pause and we'll finish this tomorrow. Good morning, guys. So this is all nice and dry. I am going to start working on the ripples in the water, and then we'll go ahead and jump in and get the trees and the little island out here going, and then we'll finish it off with all the birds that are flying off. So just going to make a darker color of orange, and what I'm going to basically doing is just kind of putting kind of like little waves in here just to make it look like this is water that has some ripples going through it. So I'm just going to get me some orange mixed up. I'm just going to use the dried cup that I had from yesterday. And I'm going to put in a lot of yellow and a little bit of red. And I want to have a shade that's slightly darker than this orange, just so that we have the light and the dark orange rippling through here. And because I'm probably going to use a lot of this color, I'm going to make quite a bit of this. So I'm going to grab quite a lot of yellow. And then I'm going to just grab some red and start mixing it until I have it a color that's as dark as I want it to be. So I'm going to hit fast forward now, and basically all I'm going to be doing is just putting in some darker ripples in the water. Now, like I said before in a lot of my other videos, my paintings tend to be very cartoony looking. So you can always develop your own style. You can try to go as realistic as you can, but me personally, I don't know why my artwork always comes out to be very cartoonish. But that's just the way mine always turns out. So we're just going to go ahead and hop in. I'm going to hit fast forward now, and then you can watch what I'm doing, and you know, hit pause so that you can catch up, or you know, however you normally do it. So I think I will just start here, work my way down and over, and I'm just putting in ripples. Alrighty guys, so I'm not going to go into too much time in putting all these little ripples in the water, but there's my water ripples. And like I said before, you can always take your painting and push it up away from you to kind of look at it from a distance. And I'm not going for perfection here, obviously, but you kind of get the gist. So you can put your little ripples in. You can use various shades of light and darker colors, which is sort of what I tried to go for here. Trying to reflect some of the darker colors that are up here. So I put a little darker down here, same up here. I had these darker clouds. I got some darker waves up in here. So I am going to hit pause and I'm going to cut out the guitar shape so that I can sort of just give it a rough trace on here as sort of a guideline for when I start putting in the trees. So I'm going to stop the video, get this cut out, and then we'll be back. Alright, I got my guitar cut out, so just take a pair of scissors or something. This doesn't have to be perfect because, you know, the drawing is of plants, so, you know, plants aren't always perfect either. I already went ahead and traced this, so I just set it down, kind of lined up my horizon with the center of the guitar. Now, my sun is slightly above the horizon, and that is okay. This is not a perfect guitar, obviously, because it is an illusion of the trees and the reflection off of the water to make it sort of look guitar shaped. So it's not a perfect guitar. Also, if you can see, this guitar is not exactly the shape of the guitar that's in there. It's a little bit of a smaller guitar. You can fudge this around and just make it bigger, elongate it here if you don't like the shape of it, but you can just use it as a rough estimate. So I don't even know if you can even see my pencil markings. I did it really, really light. So I'm just going to hold it up there. Maybe you can see it. I am not sure if you can see it. I just used my little pencil, and as light as I could, I just went and made a rough tracing of this. So I'm going to go ahead and speed up the video. We're going to be getting out the black, and I am basically going to start on the edges, sort of make it kind of rough, because, you know, the trees, you know, they have leaves and they're not perfect. And so it's going to be a very rough looking guitar here. Also with the neck and the head of the guitar over here, and then this is like wispy grass that's going here. So I'm just going to go ahead, speed up the video now, get out one of my brushes that I've used many times before, and I've sort of roughed this one up so that, you know, when I want to do something like foliage, I don't have a perfect brush. So I've been destroying this brush over many months of doing these paintings with you guys. So I'm just going to fast forward now and start getting a very rough outline of this guitar in just black. Looks like these grasses, they sort of stop right about where the sun is. So I'm just gonna grab my black here, and I've been putting a little water in it because this black is really thick, so that it kind of goes on a little bit easier. Just a tiny bit of water, you don't need a lot. But I'm just gonna get my line going here, and it's going to stop just beyond the edge of this guitar. So I'm just gonna put my little island here. And we've got a bunch of tree trunks going back and forth here. I am just going to start doing some lines for the trunks, and I will get some lines on the far side over here for these little bush thingies that are here. And I'm going to probably make this guitar a little bit wider. This is a really kind of just a clip art picture of a guitar. It's not the greatest. The head and neck over here is a little bit bigger than probably it should be. So that's the cool thing about painting is, especially if you're doing a silhouette, is if this isn't very proportional, you can elongate this a little bit, and it sort of will just trick it into making it look like you knew what you were doing. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get the trunks of these trees put in, and then I'm just gonna put a line here to sort of indicate where all of the little knobs are on the head of the guitar. So I'm just gonna fast forward again. Alright, now that I've sort of got that done, now I'm going to do the fun part, which is getting my messed up brush here, and I'm going to start dabbing it along the edges to sort of give it a more rough look, to kind of make it look like these are in fact trees instead of a solid object. So, like I said before, always get your brushes cleaned up, especially if you're going in between using a different brush for a long time. So you keep your brushes nice, they will last you a while. Okay, so now I've got my messed up brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and go around, and I'm going to speed up the video again. And then we've got the bottom of the tree, which is going to skirt along the whole of the guitar, so basically the sun. So I'm just gonna do this here and just sort of follow along here with the trees. So I'm gonna, once again, even though this is my messed up brush, I'm gonna get as much of the black off of it as I can and set it to the side. Alright, so it's getting there. I've got my first little bit done, and I'm going to, before I move on to this side, I'm going to make my little island a little bit more obvious that it's an island instead of just a straight black line on the horizon. And what happens is, like where the tree trunks meet the water, it gets kind of a little bit thicker, and you kind of just angle it into like a little curve here. And you'll see what I'm talking about as I continue to go through this. I'm going to grab my my little thin brush here, and I'm going to get it wet and load it up with some black, and so that I can get some finer lines around the bases of these tree trunks, so that I can kind of get that little curve in there that I was telling you about. Alright, so I'm just gonna start here on this tree. Even though the grass sort of covers it, I'm just going to go do it anyway because I'm putting the grass in last. But what I'm talking about is like when your tree is a little closer to the ground, just kind of thicken the bottom just a tad. So just show you here, this one's going to get covered by the grass, but it's just sort of alright, that's not so bad. Alright, I'm going to come over to the neck of the guitar and start putting in those little shrubs. And I might go back over some of this with some more black because I can see there are quite a lot of streaks where I had thinned the paint out. And I can always go back over with some more. That's the beauty about doing silhouettes. Alright, we'll do the same thing here. And then just get my trees made. I'm going to use the little brush on this one just because this is a little bit more delicate. So I'm just going to sort of do this sort of thing and just bring these into sort of a roundish kind of shape. So the grass went right up to the sun here. So basically, I want to make sure that if I've got taller grass here, it's taller here, shorter grass, shorter. So you got to get that silhouette going, or that that mirror image off of the water. So I'm just gonna start making some wispy movements back and forth. Try to making these about roughly the same. And now I'm just gonna kind of go in and just fill in just a little bit, just a smidge, and all of these blank areas. So it's, you know, you got, these are basically the tall grasses, and then you got these little grasses that are, you know, going to be in between. So I'm just gonna make this line just a little thicker, and it can be rough looking. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it'd probably look better if it wasn't perfect and then it was sort of rough looking, because it is grass. Alright, so it's coming there. I've got the neck on there. I probably will come in and put more grass up here in the head of the guitar. Okay, so before I make this look any worse, I'm going to stop there. So the only thing I really have left now is to get my little birds coming out of here. And I'm just going to take a quick look at sort of what they look like, if I can. There we go. Yeah, these guys are practically just little specks. And that's actually not going to be very easy to get those birds on there. If you like, you can not do the birds if you don't want to. I'm going to try and do a few and just see if I can even make this these birds look good. They are very tiny. Doing small detail stuff has never been my forte. Let's just see if I can just get some little birds coming through here. And you know, if you wanted to, you can literally leave it that simple. So you kind of get the idea. You put your birds in. You want to make sure you try to get some kind of an image, a mirror image off of the water of whatever birds you're putting in. So if you're putting a bird here, you kind of want to put a little bird sort of here. Alright, and now the fun part is putting on my signature and calling it good. Alright, so there's my little initial. I'm just making it very, very subtle. Alright, so let's zoom out so we can kind of get a better look of what this looks like. Get my paintbrush cleaned off. Okay, so I'm just going to turn this over for you guys. Alright, so there is my finished little guitar sunset. And then once again, you know, I'm not a professional painter. And so, you know, my paintings don't always turn out awesome, but I kind of like the way this one turned out. Go ahead and have fun with this, and as always, you know, you don't have to paint what I paint in the video. You can paint whatever you want to. Okay, so can't wait to see you guys for our next paint night, and until then, hope you guys are enjoying your summer. Bye.